All right, welcome back here. Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by R&B Builders. Get in touch with them on Instagram at rnbbuilders.com. If I had a vote on who the next pitching coach would be, it would be our next guest, Doug Thompson. I don't know if he has the time to do it.
I think he can make the time.
And I'm not nominating him, but, I mean, I'm just saying I've seen him in the way that he handles this. And he comes from Skip's book of pitching. When you hear Skip talk about pitching, it makes it sound very easy, and it's not. Remember, Doug, when we talk to Doug each week, the segment's brought to you by the Louisiana Firefighters Foundation, who aim to create a safer community, offering safety training courses to current Louisiana firefighters and first responders, as well as free training and consulting services to our community business owners, teachers, administrators. You can visit them today online at louisianafirefighters.com if you want to learn more and schedule a free training today to prepare your team for the unexpected. The Louisiana Firefighters Foundation, aiming to make Louisiana a safer place. DT9, Doug Thompson on Louisiana, a part of the LSU Sports Radio Network. What a treat this weekend was with the three-man booth with you, CB, and the Buzz. Dougie, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yep, always fun in the three-man booth. Didn't feel like work this weekend for sure.
Doug, more impressive, LSU's offense or the pitching staff this weekend?
Well, I think both equally as impressive. The first game, they get them over, they get them in, they do it with kind of the small ball, the hits here and there, and then the bats just explode, gorilla ball style, if you will, and they become the first team since 1998 to have 8 players in the lineup with double-digit home runs.
Wow.
But, yeah, super proud of the pitching staff as well. Obviously, Paul Skeens was Paul Skeens. And just a ho-hum 12 strikeouts over 9 innings. And I think the eating up the whole game was the biggest thing that he did, which is, it's so valuable in a tournament. And then you've got Ty Floyd. It looked bleak when the lightning came, and it was clear that Ty was not going to be able to make his way back out to the mound. I think some were surprised to see Thatcher Hurd run out there, but I tell you that Jay Johnson, he knows what he's doing, and things worked out well. You go Riley Cooper, Ackenhausen, and others all the way down to Gavin Guidry, Herring yesterday. Just a ton of lefties, and then you come in there with Guidry, who doesn't look like a freshman, doesn't act like a freshman, doesn't pitch like a freshman, and he comes in there and slams the door shut twice. So, I mean, it was just really a super regional. And now that we've gotten through that one, we're ready for an actual super regional here in Baton Rouge, which is so cool to say for the first time in a while now.
Box was beautiful this weekend. It was rocking when the weather was right. Doug, take me to Friday. When you heard that Schemes was starting, what did you think about the strategy? And now here on Tuesday morning, knowing the outcome, how beautiful it was to see it kind of all play out.
Well, I mean, again, there was tons of speculation. I actually was curious what the general, the Tiger fan thought. I put a tweet out, I don't remember, Friday morning sometime to see who would you start, and I had Paul Skeens and, of course, Ty Floyd Hurd and Thatcher Hurd actually got 70% of the votes. Thank goodness that's not the way it worked out, because we actually got Paul Skeens for 9 innings as opposed to only 3. Although I think that Ty Floyd and Thatcher Hurd were good enough to beat Tulane. It's always risky to go into a tournament without your number one. And, the Tigers getting that first game was so big for the rest of the week, especially, again, Paul Skeens eating up 9 innings. It just really set up the rest of the weekend, in the Tigers' favor.
Doug, take me to Riley Cooper. I thought Jay Johnson, speaking of him yesterday, man, he was really complimentary and kind of went into the history of Riley Cooper, how they found him out in Fresno, what they counted on him, for in Arizona, and what he's been for him here in Baton Rouge. From your point of view, what is Cooper to this team?
Well, he's that veteran out of the bullpen. He's unflappable. No moment's too big. A lot of guys might let that, oh, my goodness, I'm starting game 3 of the regional. I've only started 2 games this year. A lot of people might let something like that get in their head because it's unusual. It's different than their routine. But Cooper's not that type of kid. He's tough between the ears. He throws strikes. He battles when he's throwing a changeup for a strike. He's a very tough college pitcher. And most importantly, Jay Johnson trusts him, and he knows what he's going to get out of him. So, quite honestly, there was some surprise when I showed up to the box and found out, kind of that he's going to go with Riley Cooper. But Riley Cooper was on my short list of people that wouldn't surprise me if they ran out there for him, along with Blake Money and a couple other guys that I think could have gone out there and had the same results, 3 or 4 innings with limited damage, which is exactly what Riley Cooper gave him.
Remember the Louisiana Firefighters Foundation online at louisianafighters.com, aiming to make Louisiana a safer place. You brought up Gavin Guidry, Doug, and I want to talk about, next year, is this guy going to be the shortstop and the closer? But this year, he's not a freshman, and they count on him in very big spots. What have you made of how he's grown up here in his first year?
Well, they make him tough over there in Lake Charles at Barb. Those Barb Bucks are year after year in that. It seems like in that state championship game, if not winning it. Glenn Cicchini has done a great job there for decades, and he's a player. He's an athlete. He's tough between the ears. Has a lot of belief in himself. He's very confident. Which again is unusual. Turned down a lot of money to be at LSU, and again, he's one of these kids that we're really lucky to have. But yeah, he has been the shot in the arm that you needed. Without Garrett Edwards and Chase Shores, I'm not sure. Those injuries, I'm not sure how much we actually get to know or get to see Gavin Guidry this year. But those injuries, that's what happens in sports. That's what makes it so great. Is it's the next man up, even if that man might not be as prepared as the one before him. And Gavin Guidry so far has answered the bell.
Doug, we saw Skeens throwing the football on Saturday. You were a pitcher. Was there any correlation? Was there any warm-up that made sense, or was it just kind of crossover? You were a two-sport guy in JUCO before you got here.
Yeah, and I love throwing a football to this day, actually. What's more fun than throwing a football? But, and a lot of pitchers did that. I mean, when I grew up, you hear the stories of Nolan Ryan tossing the pigskin around a little bit. So that's not unheard of to get it out and kind of just get your arms stretched out from a good 15, 20 yards, just spinning it out there. It makes you kind of, get through the throw. You can't really short arm it. And it's very common for pitchers to every now and again grab a football and toss a little bit.
Doug, it felt like the late 90s at the box with the way the ball was flying out the yard this weekend. What did you make of all those home runs?
Well, the guys were seeing the ball well. I think the pitching started to, as we got deeper in the tournament, the pitching started to suffer a little bit, but or actually, decline a little bit. But nonetheless, 5 home runs in game 2, 4 in game 3. We hit 9 home runs in those 2 games. It was so much fun to watch. It was unusual out of the 9 home runs for only 8 to be solo home runs. Goodness knows if they would have had some walks and errors and things like that before, what the scores would have been out there. But I just think they're seeing it well. I think this lineup is really clicking. How about Hayden Travinsky with 10 home runs and 80 at-bats? Do the math on that, comparatively speaking, to some other kids, how many at-bats they have, and give Hayden that many at-bats and just kind of do the math, see where he would be. It's up there in the 20s. But he has been just a bolt of electricity to an already high-voltage lineup. And that's what we're seeing, man. These guys are seeing it well. It's the perfect time of year for them to be swinging the bats, and don't forget it's heating up a little bit, and it tends to fly a little bit more out of the box than normal as the weather warms up. So, yeah, it was reminiscent of the late 90s. At some point, even Jordy, I heard a Tommy chant and got the chills because it took me right back to where 8,000 people at the old box were on their feet chanting Eddie Furness's name, and those were always special times. So, look, the one thing I wish we could do again about this regional, right? When you get the regional at LSU, that crowd is supposed to be what's going to make this even more difficult than the opponent that you're facing in the years. And unfortunately, because of the rain and the lightning and whatnot, it just was never packed to the brim. And these kids deserve that this week. They deserve that environment. And I really, really hope that this week people are able to come out and literally create a standing room only atmosphere and get wild, get there early, get the liquid chemicals going out there, and come in there ready to rock the box this weekend, because these guys are 2 more wins away from being back in Omaha where the Tigers belong.
Dougie, give me your point of view of Wes Johnson's impact on the pitching staff, and then the timing of the story yesterday where it's announced that he's going to be Georgia's head coach.
Look, I mean, this guy's been around the game for 25, 30 years. He's coached big leaguers. He's developed people. But, you know, I mean, he's taken an opportunity when it's presented to him. No one can fault him for that. You know, I always heard that his aspiration coming back to college was to eventually be a head coach and not a pitching coach. Hopefully he can finish up strong here. I don't know. Is he staying with the team through Omaha?
Yes.
Yeah. So hopefully they can finish up strong here and get him a national championship ring. There's no doubt he's committed to these kids. I've talked to several of the pitchers on this staff. There's a lot of respect. There's a lot of love from the pitchers to him. They really believe in him. And, you know, I'm just glad that he's got a better opportunity. And I'm excited to see who Jay Johnson goes out there and finds. I mean, he's been pretty good so far at bringing in people when he's forced to do so. The story of last year when he went and got the big transfers and then brought in Wes Johnson was his first opportunity. We'll see what he pulls out of his sleeve here.
Last one, Dougie. What do you remember about Kentucky, and what do you make of the matchup?
Yeah, they're going to, Nick Mingione, he's a great coach. They're going to small ball you. They're going to play well. They're going to play strong defense. They're going to bunt. They're going to steal bases. They're going to try to do all the little things. They're like gnats. They're just not going to go away easily. And LSU, I believe, took 2 or 3 from them, right? I haven't even gotten into the offense yet.
Yep.
But I think that last game, Kentucky was able to scrape some runs away and win the game. But yeah, they're definitely beatable, but they can definitely also have a good weekend. And I think it's as good an opponent as LSU can ask for. And I'm excited about it, man. I'm fired up to watch this 3-game series.
The Louisiana Firefighters Foundation, it's aiming to make Louisiana a safer place. Learn more today at louisianafirefighters.com. The 3-man booth is a must listen. Have a great call this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
Right,
have a good one.
All right, man. There he is. Doug Thompson checking in right there, giving some good knowledge as we close at hour 1 here. Remember, daily, we're brought to you by Katie's Restaurant. Katie's located down in New Orleans on Iberville Street. Make sure and check them out there. Online at katiesinmidcity.com if you want to check out the menu. They got St. Louis-style pizza. They got all your New Orleans favorites. We told you about our experience last week. We were down in the quarter, sat next to a couple of tourists. We asked them where they went to eat. They went to Katie's. I asked them for a review. They said it was the friendliest service in town they had ever been to. They were travelers. They loved to leave reviews. They were down in New Orleans for a couple of weeks for music and listening to they were going to some music festivals, and said they went to go check out a place on a Sunday afternoon. They ended up at Katie's and said it was awesome. They loved it. The experience was great because the service was great. The food was awesome, and that's what you get every time you go into Katie's. katiesinmidcity.com. Don't forget about their sister restaurant, Francesca's, which is a deli located in Lakeview. You can learn about Francesca's online as well at katiesinmidcity.com. katiesinmidcity.com. We'll come back. Remember, at the 8 o'clock hour, Mike Anderson, custom shoes. He's got them on skeins. He's got them on crews. He's got them all over the place. Hopefully, we can finagle ourselves a pair.
He's going to get them on me.
For sure.
I'll let him paint my feet.
I did have an order, if I remember, Mike.
Got lost in the mail.
You're on your way over here.
I did have an order.
That's why I didn't come in yesterday.
That's right. Wade lost his job.
He was up all night cobbling.
We'll be back. Jordy Culotta Show, built by R&B.